This is Hans Scheil from the Finishing Well podcast. On Finishing Well, we help you make godly choices about Medicare, long-term care, and your money. Your chosen Truth Network podcast is starting in just seconds. Enjoy it, share it, but most of all, thank you for listening and choosing the Truth Podcast Network.
This is the Truth Network.
Truth Talk Weekend. What a treat to have in the studio a mighty woman of God. Now, she loves the game of basketball. I just got to get that right out here.
I do.
But she has a powerful story from being in prison and being in Italy and being an international TV host and an author. But there's this common thread of Jesus Christ and his powerful, life-changing, dignifying, just adopting work in your life. Cynthia, it's so good to have you with me here today.
Thank you, Stu. It's good to be here with you. I appreciate you taking the time. And yes, Jesus Christ is the thread that has gotten me through my entire life. But, you know, it's funny, through everything, you know, there was one point where I thought I would write a book called Fame, Cancer, and Prison. I'm not sure which one was worse. Wow. Because, you know, I have had all of these life experiences that have taught me that without Christ at the head, no experience, whether it's a difficult one or a successful one, is a great experience. Not as great as God wants for it to be.
Wow, and that was what was cool. You know, you're in a room with 500,000 people, and this is I'm holding up for our Gram fam. Folks are watching on your live Gram feed, my live Gram feed. This is where we were this morning. The Come Alive and Pastor Kevin and so many other godly men and women, the YMCA folks, a lot of business people were there. And thank God for a YMCA. I mean, if we did what we did this morning in some countries, we would be doing a jail interview, right? And there wouldn't be microphones, there would be social media. Yeah. But they invite us all in, and this is the program, some powerful prayers. There's your whole awesome little bio of you right there, and then a little schedule inside here. But people came together over a meal on a Tuesday morning at 7 a.m.,
which is very impressive because it wasn't people came together. There were a lot of people.
You looked out there over a sea of faces.
I was surprised. I did not expect to see that many people. There were a lot of people, which says to me that what you guys are doing here is not just God blessed and God ordained. It's God powerful. These people's lives are being really touched. And in the world that we live in today, I think people are hungry for a touch from the Lord, a real touch, a real experience with a risen Savior, a living God.
Isn't that something? And so it's funny how you came into a room not knowing a soul, and then you left that room with like a massive family, like a lady who put her hand on you and prayed, and you described what you felt, that moment, this lady that you'd never seen in your life before.
Wow, no. One of the things that I really believe is that prayer is palpable. And so when your prayer life is really rich and real, other people can feel it. I mean, that's what filling up with the Lord is about. And this woman named Christy prayed for me last night. And from the second she came to me and she touched me, I started crying because I could feel such power on her. And I looked at her and I actually said, "Are you an intercessor?" And she said, "Yes, I am. For many years now." And I could just feel it. She didn't even have to pray. It was just so strong and powerful. I could feel it. And she said to me last night that she would stay up and intercede for me through the night because she asked me if there was a specific prayer I had. And I said, yeah, I would like for you to pray that God would order my thoughts for tomorrow morning so that what he wants to say would come out in a way where it could be clearly understood. Because sometimes I get lost in my own testimony. There's so much. There's so much.
Try to narrow everything down. You got a lot of group of people. You got a great meal, and everyone has expectations.
Right, and I have a lot I want to say.
Of all the people in the world, they picked me to speak to this group.
Right.
But it's interesting. You fast forward to the end, and to everyone talking, and I've already had people calling and texting me saying, "Man, that was unbelievable. That was the most powerful speaker I've ever heard." But then you see why, because there's a sweet lady up at 2 a.m. praying for you.
Yeah.
There's people praying. Yeah. I walked in late before you spoke, before that prayer part, before they had the little group prayer, which was cool. Yes. I walked in just before that, but as I'm walking from my car with a man of God that's in New NCS with us, New Canaan, we prayed for you.
Oh, thank you.
And we prayed for the people there.
Thank you.
Because I'm thinking, okay, who am I going to meet? Who am I going to impress? Who am I going to talk to? I'm going to pass some cards out. No, wait a second. This is warfare. There are people in that room that are bound toward a Christless eternity, and they're going to hear about the light of Jesus Christ through this vessel here.
Right.
And so, Lord, work in their hearts and prepare their hearts to hear that. That's what it's about. This is life and death, heaven and hell, and we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So there's a power, and you talked about prayer so much. It was awesome, and the power of prayer.
It's the thing that's gotten me through all the things in my life. I mean, before I even really knew what prayer was or that it was powerful, like I said in the beginning, this morning, prayer to me started as a little girl, and it's just been this constant dialogue since I was young. Because when I was young, I was sexually abused as a child. So the nutshell of my testimony: sexually abused as a child, raped as a teenager. Went through high school and college with zero self-esteem, looking for love in all the wrong places. Finally found the wrongest place. Ran off and married a guy after I'd known him about 1 month in person, 2 months on a phone. By month 3, we're married, living in Paris. By day 10 of that marriage, I was being mentally abused, verbally abused, physically abused, and then ended up in a prison cell with him in Italy because I found out he was trafficking cocaine in our car. Had a total assumed identity. I mean, the whole thing was a nightmare. I get out of that. I come home with a baby, a child that saved my life.
And how
literally.
How that baby was conceived is a miracle. You talked
Total
a little bit about
miracle, because I wasn't supposed to be able to have children without a lot of medical intervention. So here I am in a prison cell in a foreign country in a state of complete shock, being medicated to stay calm. And I give birth to this healthy baby boy who is an incredible, on fire young 25-year-old man of God who impacted his university at the University of Kansas
and he plays
in
basketball.
Incredible ways. Yes, he played basketball for KU, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
There we go.
I had to get that plug in. And then he played overseas in Italy for a couple of years, Italy and Greece. And then this year he said, Mom, I don't want to go back. I'm ready to start my real career life. And God has just been blessing him and favoring him as he transitions. But it's all because I surrendered. Yeah. That's really it. It's all
those
because
things,
I surrendered.
that whole, you just gave us many years in.
Yeah.
But Christian Abraham is his name. What a name!
My child of faith.
There's some significance there because of the faith. Yes. And so I want you to tell everyone about this vision. Let me ask Kim. Kim, how long are we into this segment? Are we about 8 minutes in? We're 10 minutes in. We're going to take a break and come back. And I just was throttled this morning when you shared about this vision that you had, that dream, whatever you call it. But we're not going to delve into how and where, but just what happened was life-changing. When we come back, you got to hear this. Hang on, more Truth Talk Weekend coming up with our awesome special guest, Cynthia Garrett. And this will be available on podcast as well and on Instagram. You'll see the live broadcast. And on her Instagram, and what's your Instagram address? Just your name, right?
Cynthia Garrett.
Okay,
Cynthia Garrett Ministries.
She's got a big grand fam. It might even be bigger than mine.
I'm also on Facebook Live, and I think I'm there. I hear some people say, bring them on camera.
Okay.
Are we not on camera? Can you not see us?
Maybe we could figure out how to do Facebook Live from this. That's a great idea. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do that when we come back and hear about the vision. Okay, hang on. More coming up right here.
Okay.
Don't touch that dial. That's what you're supposed to say.
Don't touch that dial.
Yes, awesome. Okay.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
There she was in a prison in a foreign country and recently married a prodigal.
Oh, yeah, definitely a prodigal. I ran off in my 20s and got married really dumb. I hate to call it a marriage because it was more me trying to numb the pain that I was in because I really didn't know how to deal with the sexual abuse that I'd experienced as a young girl. And, I had tried to fill the void with sex, drugs, guys, you name it. And so I got my heart broken by my first love, and I met a guy who was a real rebound romance. And that's what landed me in this prison
You're
cell.
on your honeymoon. There's something about cocaine, and you talked about this morning, so I guess we can share.
Oh yeah, you can share my story. Well, I wrote the book because in all honesty, Stu, I realized that my testimony had so many layers to it, and I can only do God so much justice in this in a short form medium.
And get the book. The book is called
Prodigal Daughter, A Journey Home to Identity.
Okay, please get that book. It's at your website, which is yourname.com or .org?
It's CynthiaGarrett.org, or you can go to Amazon.com, but everything's sort of available through my website at CynthiaGarrett.org.
Okay, and I'm gonna go there too, and folks can hear things, and maybe we'll shoot you the podcast of this, and people can download it and listen there too, okay?
Okay.
But to watch your TV program, which I'm gonna start watching, get the book, because the book tells all these more granular details of all this.
Yes.
But there you are, you're on your honeymoon, and you find out that your new husband is doing drug deals on the dashboard? I mean,
well, no, he was trafficking over 1 kilo of cocaine in the dashboard of our car. And when I found it, I took off and threw it out in broad daylight. And he was being watched by armed military police. And to make a very long story short, we ended up being arrested. And it was sort of, arrest them both and sort the whole thing out. So I ended up 2 years in Italy pretty much testifying against him. But it was the 3 months in prison where I found my faith.
You're at rock bottom and you go to sleep and you tell us about this vision. And this really captured people today. This was really moving.
Yeah, sometimes I forget to share actually, an angel of the Lord brought me the word of God. And I know that sounds really crazy, but on day 3 of being locked in isolation now in this prison cell, I go to sleep and I'm, as you can imagine, in a real state of panic because I don't know if my family knows where I am. I mean, I left them, they left me in Paris with a crazy man. They kind of knew I'd maybe made a big mistake in marrying who I married, but I wanted to try to make it work because I didn't want to fail because that was a whole other level of stuff that I was dealing with. And so I went to sleep day 3, night 3, and I call it a dream. It was kind of like a vision, and it was as real as I'm sitting here today. And there was this angel, and she sort of came down on a cloud, and she was dressed all in white. And I remember looking at her thinking she looked exactly like my grandmother. And she had piercing blue eyes, like Pastor Kevin and my husband sitting over there, that you guys can't see them, but she did. And because my grandmother was Italian, and she had brown hair and these beautiful blue eyes. And this angel was standing in front of me on this cloud in this vision, and she had something in her hands, and it was a book, and she said, "Do you know what this is? This is God's word, and he's going to send it to you, and if you read it, he'll save you, and it'll change your life." And I looked at the book, and on the book said the words, "Good news." Now, this was plain as day. So I go to sleep, I wake up the next morning because I get a knock on my prison cell door, and the woman who ran the women's side of the prison was a woman named Signora Mariuccia. And she came to my door, and with the help of the girl in the cell next door and an English-Italian dictionary, she explained to me that there was someone who was coming to see me. Now, I did not know until later that the person coming to see me is the nun over the prisons in this part of Italy. I was on the island of Sardinia. So I looked down to my left, and walking down the hall is this little nun. She's dressed in white from head to toe. She's got striking blue eyes. She looks exactly like my grandmother, exactly like the angel from my dream. And actually, I forgot to mention this morning that her name is Suor Angela, which means Sister Angela, which translates angel in Italian. Tell me God doesn't have a sense of humor. And in her hand, she's holding a book, and it says, she says, "Do you know what this is? This is God's word. If you read it, he's going to save you and change your life." And on it are written the words, "The Good News Bible." And I fainted. And that's how I started reading the Bible.
There.
Yeah.
So you're like this, you have this dream, then she shows up with this Bible.
Yeah.
And then you started reading the Bible. You started reading the best-selling book, the most stolen book, the book that's illegal in 57 countries right now.
Wow.
That's the current toll.
Wow.
That we actually, I don't know how we got it in here.
Wow.
But we were able to get one into the studio today.
Yeah, we can still get one in the studio.
It's
thank
unbelievable.
God.
I actually had this morning. Don't tell anyone. I had this morning at the prayer breakfast. When you were Psalm 139:8. When you reference scripture verses, I would look them up.
Yes.
So I tried to do it discreetly because you see someone with a badge or something, you could run.
Psalm 139:8 is powerful because if I go up to heaven, he will be there. If I make my bed in hell, he will be there.
Yeah, and so many folks have that make my bed in hell. They're in that trauma right now, and you talk about that. You talk about the folks that are victimized, the folks that are stuck on opioids. Their lady came up after you in tears talking about daughter passing away of that. She's talking to us about starting a march and starting a ministry to people that you talked about. Folks that are in poverty. You talked a lot about victims. How I look at your life and I'm thinking you could have started a lot of marches and you could have started a lot of revolts and carried that victim flag.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have written that thing forever, but God didn't take you. I mean, God did something so miraculous in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I mean, my father taught me how never to play the victim. And that's a big statement because my dad, as I shared this morning, was a black man from the state of Texas. And in the very early 60s, when blacks couldn't even ride on the same buses, use the same bathrooms, or drink out of the same water fountains, my father and his business partner would disguise themselves as a chauffeur and a janitor to get into their own board meetings for the 7 white banks and savings and loans that he bought.
So they owned the banks.
They
had to put this disguise on just to show up.
Yeah. And their friends who were white businessmen who started the first banks of San Francisco would pretend to be the owners. And racism eventually took my father's business down that first time. So that's why this lesson is even more important, because at the end of my dad's life in the year 2000, when I was given my first big show on NBC called Later with Cynthia Garrett at the time, I looked at my dad and I asked him about race in America and what I should stand for as a black woman. And he said, listen, baby girl, he said, I'm going to tell you something. The first minute that someone does you a harm, cry and get it out of your system. He said, but please, after 20 minutes, you're a darn fool. Never choose to play the victim. You got to take the hand that life has given you and you have to play it as best you can. Okay. And so from someone who could have been a victim, who chose not to be a victim, I have a lot to say about that.
Okay, now in a culture where the Black Lives Matters, the Me Too, there's a lot of division, a lot of challenges, a lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of upset, a lot of brutality to go around on all sides.
Yeah.
What does Cynthia Garrett say to that? That's a good cliffhanger, Kim, because we're going to come right back after this break and ask you that question. Of course, our online audience and our live social media on Instagram and on your wonderful Instagram page are still watching it on a Facebook Live as well. Yeah. And I'll link that over to my Facebook. The podcast will be available soon. Stay tuned. I want to get into that. I want to speak about shame. I want to speak about purity. I want to some of those other points that God gave you this morning that really spoke to people. It's just neat. I mean, I looked around and people were like, I was looking at the big giant screen over here. But a lot of folks were just looking straight at you, even farther back. They just wanted to see the live person. Of course, I was sitting in a way that I could see you better on that screen, but more coming up. Hang on, Truth Talk is coming right back.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
And we're back on Truth Talk Weekend. A high-level guest, unbelievable, powerful testimony. Please, if you just joined us, many folks just dialed in somewhere on the Truth Network. Maybe it's 91.7 FM in Jacksonville. Maybe it's Christian Talk 660 AM in Greenville, Spartanburg. Maybe it's Charlotte, 105.7 FM, or Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill. Wherever you're listening, Des Moines, Iowa, Salt Lake City, our awesome Truth Network affiliates, our awesome affiliates of Truth Talk Weekend, please go back and get the podcast of this whole interview because Cynthia Garrett's story is transformational, unbelievable. In her book, which I'm pumped to read, I feel like I want to get more because there's so many details in there. And her website, cynthiagarrett.org. So here's the notes. I'm holding them up to the Facebook Live group to show. Those are the notes I took. This is a cool prayer of commitment, just a prayer for someone to receive Christ. And our Truth Warrior Minturn, we walked around and we grabbed all the extra ones of these off of the tables.
Those are cool.
And we've already shared it with a bunch of folks. Hey, this is a cool prayer just to thank you and bless you. And I wrote on the back of the Christian radio stations. They could listen to 97.7 or whatever station, whatever market they're in. But it's really cool how you invited people to receive Christ this morning, a lot of people. And what our special guest was the keynote speaker at this huge prayer breakfast. And it wasn't a book tour, and it wasn't a PR shtick, and it wasn't like a Hall of Fame, inaugural dinner with awards being passed out. It was a come to Jesus meeting. Yeah. And I say that in the most absolute strict way. Yeah. And, folks encountered the Lord Jesus through a woman of God who God has changed your life. And parents prayed for you, and your dad, even to the point of his passing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Was shelling out this amazing wisdom.
Don't be a victim. It's hard, and it's hard. Look, I mean, the reality is that difficult stuff happens. People today live with more challenge and more brokenness and more hurt and more pain and more abuse than I've seen in my lifetime. And I always try to extend an invitation to know Jesus if I can, because that's what's given me strength and it's what's given me hope. And it's what gives me the ability to get up and love not just myself, but other people. And so it's kind of like it's cheesy today in some ways to talk about being a Christian, but I happen to think it's kind of cool. And I've always talked about being a Christian and I because I want people to have better lives. That's it. I just want them to have great lives.
And it really starts by coming out, and that forgiveness theme you talked about, boy, that's huge. And you kind of went there. I loved how you addressed, you tapped the political just enough to kind of get our attention.
Yeah.
You talked about the Black Lives Matters, the Me Too, all these movements that are, so many are driven by folks' anger, inequality. I've been mistreated.
Right.
But you took that to a whole other level in what your dad said to you about victims and about the power of Christ's forgiveness. Speak to that real quick, will you? This idea of forgiveness and how that supersedes everything.
Well, look, in reality, I've dealt with sexual harassment and sexual abuse my entire life. And I spoke quite freely about that. I've dealt with a lot of stuff, that has caused me to struggle with feeling overlooked or feeling, anger and resentments and all of those things. But the reality is that we can choose to live with our victimization, which gives it power. We can choose to hold those who've hurt us in unforgiveness, which gives it power. Or we can choose to give our right to judge to God, cut other people's victimization off of us because it's a chain. And if we don't break those chains of unforgiveness, we remain a slave to them for the rest of our lives. So forgiveness is not just what Jesus Christ's whole gig was about. Forgiveness is the spiritual key that sets you free. So for me, I didn't want to live angry at the relative who sexually abused me. I didn't want to live, broken by I was raped by two guys. So by the two guys who raped me, I did not want to live angry at an ex-husband or in fear of cancer. So what my dad gave me in teaching me and telling me, hey, don't choose to be a victim, choose to walk in victory. I just look at all of these movements and I have such empathy for sisters of mine who've gone through things and such empathy for brothers of mine who are struggling with things. But I also know that it's the forgiveness that they need to really and truly overcome. Standing on a platform, voicing your anger and your resentment doesn't really take you anywhere forward. Doesn't move you.
You made a profound statement that got a real aha and a real amen resounding around the room. You said, look, a lot of these movements, it glorifies the victim.
Yeah.
But they don't glorify God.
Yeah, the movements themselves, the movements themselves are designed to give a voice to victims, but if it goes to the extreme, they turn on us and they keep the victims victimized. And man, I just want freedom for anybody who's dealt with all of this stuff and victory. Okay, so our special guest, you're hearing the voice of Cynthia Garrett, a mighty woman of God. Hello, Graham fam. Hello to Cynthia's Graham fam. Hello to Cynthia's Facebook Live, which I'll link on my Stu Epperson fan page. We're just bringing our people any way we can. We want people to be touched by Jesus. Share this broadcast so someone will come to Christ. This woman just shared a lot of things. So go back and listen to the earlier if you just now hopped in. And this is also on our kind of our national show, Truth Talk Weekend, which will be played in real time in a few days from now on the weekend. But in a podcast, it'll be a podcast available soon too. But what I want to make sure that we communicate is, you're cancer survivor, sexual abuse, you're in prison, made a lot of mistakes. Yeah.
Okay. And,
a lot of those things that happened to me were also the result of my own choices and my own behavior.
So people listening out there in life that have realized, wow, I've messed up. I'm just not good enough for God. God can't. You talked about purity. And it's fascinating. You talked about purity. You talked about holiness in your talk. Yeah. And all of that comes together at this event called the Cross of Jesus Christ. Will you talk about how you were washed by Jesus, made completely pure? Though your sins are as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Will you talk about that? Will you look in the cameras or talk in the mic to people, how they can be washed, they can be pure, they can be transformed right now?
Well, it's, there's a scripture that says, whom the Son sets free is free indeed. And that powerfully touched my life, because I think all of you out there watching understand that we all just want to walk in freedom. We want to walk authentically who we feel God created us to be. And so there's this thing that I always want to share and leave you with, and it's called faith in Jesus. And I remember the feeling of becoming born again. I was all by myself in a prison cell in Italy, and I was reading the Word, and the Word of God was so alive. It's like people say when you read the Bible, it's alive, it's active, it's sharper than any two-edged sword, and it's true. And it was speaking to my heart and speaking to my soul in places that human beings couldn't understand, because all of us know we've got a lot of secrets. We live with secrets. We live with shame. Stu mentioned the weight of shame. The heaviest weight you can walk around with in your life is a weight called shame or guilt. They're like anchors around your legs, stopping you from doing what it is that you want to do, and stopping you from walking in the power of who God created you to be. And so the reason why I offer you the ability to know Jesus all the time as much as I can is because our one job is really to go out and share the gospel, to make disciples of Christ. And so when I realized that he alone is the famous one, it took a lot of pressure off of me to look for the approval of men, to feel validated or important. So if you're feeling that way, if you feel sometimes like you can't get the approval and the validation and the love that you need, then I honestly tell you that with all my heart. I don't just say these words lightly. Jesus Christ died for your sins, and he wants to know you. And it's really simple. It's as simple as stopping right now in this moment and saying, Jesus, I want to know you. I love you. I want you to come into my life. I want you to take over. I don't want anybody else's judgment. I want your love. And that's it. You invite him in. And then you begin a covenant relationship with a living God who's a really good father. And for those of you watching who are parents, understand, as parents understand, I didn't have my son so that he'd love me and follow all the rules. I had my son so that I could have a relationship with him, and that hopefully he would love me in return, and that I could love him. And see, the Bible says, if those of us being good parents know how to love our kids, how much more our Father in heaven? So he's the perfect parent. He's the perfect father. And many of us have been dropped by our dads or our parents. And so it's hard to love God because we have a hard time imagining what it's like to love a perfect father. But he's just that. He's a perfect father. So I invite you into that relationship. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do. Cynthia, brilliant and really powerful that we are, as believers, no matter how big our platform or how small, we are here to make Jesus famous. And the question is, and you challenge people on purity. You challenge believers there. You challenge young people to be sexually pure.
Oh, yeah.
You challenge young, don't move in with that person. They're not your wife yet.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I've made every mistake you could make. Because when you're looking for love in all the wrong places, especially as a young woman today, and if you're semi-decent looking, guys are the easiest thing to get. So you give yourself away. You give yourself away time after time after time. Girls, you know this. And there's a reason why Beyonce's song became so famous, because I think there's something inside of women that knows if you want it, then you better put a ring on it. Like we know that we're worth more than what we're getting. But what I want is for young men and women to understand that walking it out in purely is so powerful. It's so powerful. It gave me, my husband courted me for 4 years, celibate, 4 years.
That fella right there?
4, that fella right
that
over
bearded
there.
brother?
Right.
We
waited until our wedding night. And so even if you've fallen off of the bicycle before, it's never too late to get back
that's
on.
That's powerful. And I want to just say thank you. Peter, you quoted that Peter passage, how we're a peculiar people.
Yeah.
So you're odd, you're going to get laughed at. Talked to a girl yesterday who went to high school with my daughter, and she went to a department store to buy some things for their new apartment when her and her fiance get married in a couple months. And the woman was like, turned white as a ghost when the girl said, no, we're not living together. She said, well, why aren't you moving in? I mean, she said, no, we don't do, but she did it not to say I'm self-righteous, I'm better. To say, you know what, I love Jesus, And he's got such a powerful way, and we want to really have the trust in our marriage. And, we all blow it, and folks have blown it out there. But right now, right this second,
right
from now on,
you can do it differently.
Yeah,
you can do it differently.
That's right. And so, but get into that. The last thing your dad told you that you quoted today was people. Find godly people that love Jesus.
Right.
And get with them.
Right. It's the Barbara Streisand song from Funny Lady. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world.
And that's something.
And that's what my dad told me. He said, you need people. Black people, white people, rich people, poor people, skinny people, short people, tall people. You need people. You need people to do anything in life.
So so first of all, if you're in that courtship dating mode, and the guy you're with doesn't love Jesus with all his heart, get away as fast as you can. Run. You're in danger. You're playing with a rattlesnake. Guys, the girl, I don't care how attractive she is, doesn't love Jesus, run as fast as you can. But run to people that do love Jesus.
Yeah.
Run to a community, run to a church where you're going to be, here's a foreign alien word, a peculiar word, discipled.
Yeah.
And be discipling people. Have Pauls in your life to disciple you. Have, Howard Hendricks said this. He said, every Christian should have 3 people in their life. A Paul to pour into them, to disciple them. A Timothy to disciple. And a Barnabas to come alongside and sharpen you like iron sharpens iron, Proverbs 27:17. And those 3 people, if you don't have those 3 people, we can't do it by ourselves.
You can't.
We need each other. We need encouragement. And that's the point of the church, a balanced Bible teaching church where you're accountability partners. I love how you use that word, which can become a bad word. It's a really healthy word.
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier. You can't lose weight without an accountability partner.
Even the world knows.
No, even the world. Right.
That's the whole thing. The Weight Watchers were started by a lady who said, I got this other little mother hen club, and I've been losing weight because I've been talking to them every week about what I've not been eating and
what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
It's what I'm struggling, and that's the thing. Christians are afraid to talk about what they're struggling with.
Okay, they're calling me because we're out of time. Thank you so much. How can people watch you on TV? How can people read your book? Well, give us a real quick shout out for your website.
You can go to cynthiagarrett.org and find out pretty much everything you want to know about how to watch the TV programs. And my book is available at Amazon, but you can also find that through cynthiagarrett.org. And I love y'all.
Well, we love you. We're so glad you came on. Pray for this woman of God as God uses her to make Jesus famous all around the world, because there are over 1 billion people. Over 1 billion people. I know you guys, I know we all have problems. I know you're depressed about this and that. You struggle. But there's over 1 billion people who have never heard the glorious gospel of the saving grace of Jesus Christ that saved a wretch like me. So I've got major problems, major issues. The phone's going to be going off right after this program. But let's do something about that.
Yeah.
Because Jesus Christ is coming back. He's showing mercy right now. Every one of you listening and watching, he's showing mercy. You can fall on your face. You can, wherever you are driving, you can receive his gift of salvation right now. But there's coming a day where the mercy is gone. When he comes back with eyes of fire and the sword and the white steed, like Revelation talks about, there will be no more mercy. He is coming to judge. And he's coming to bring the wrath of God with him on those that don't know him. So we're inviting you to flee the wrath, to come and receive the good news of Jesus, the glorious gospel.
Yeah, one of my favorite scriptures says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Because it's a healthy fear to kind of, you read the Bible and you go, okay, the Bible says I shouldn't do that, but I don't get that. So when I encounter those moments, I go, all right, well, I trust that God is God, so I'm going to do this anyway. And then I'm going to do this anyway, he begins to give me the wisdom about why he's right and I'm wrong. And he doesn't want us to follow a bunch of rules because he's going to fall off the throne if we don't. He's on the throne. He's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's for us to have a better life because he loves us.
Yep. Just go to him.
Yeah.
He'll make it real clear.
Yeah.
Just go to Jesus and go to people that know him and love him.
Yeah.
And get around them and walk with the Lord. Thank you so much, Cynthia. You blessed us. It's awesome. Woman of God, awesome.
Thank you, little Stu.
Yes, social media, spread, share this, and tell someone, hey, don't waste people's time. Tell someone about Jesus today, right?
Yeah.
What else is there to talk about? Yeah.
Well, it's the best thing that I've ever had to talk about, to be quite frank with you. Everything else is dribble.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, producers. Truth Talk, truthnetwork.com, and Truth Talk podcast. This will be out soon on podcast.
Okay, thank you. Bye, y'all.
Wow.
This is the Truth Network.